Welcome to the podcast, Beyond Expectations, Parenting Autism. Follow Michelle Chabola's journey of raising a child with autism, the challenges, victories, and rewards. If you're a parent, caregiver, or simply someone seeking to understand autism on a personal level, you're in the right place.
Thank you guys for listening and watching. Last episode, we covered a lot of life skills, and Michelle thought that today we should get a little deeper. And I think it's fascinating talking about daily life with an autistic child. Hello, Michelle.
All right, let's do it. Lots of sensory stuff last time. So this time I thought we would get into life skills as far as dressing and everyday life, and also things that we have to deal with that sometimes we don't want to deal with.
Would it help to just like lay out it's wake up time? Well, and maybe pick an age, like it's wake up time, it's breakfast, it's bath, it's teeth, it's so like, because it's just different, right? I mean, obviously every autistic child is different as well. But with your story, is it easier to lay it out that way? Like just go through like the day, because the rest of us take a lot of things for granted.
Right. I would like to, yes, we could do that, and we could start, I guess, at a younger age, and then I can tell you where he's at now. So that might be a great comparison. As far as life skills, what I really, really, really like to focus on, and for everybody, is the dressing, and where your child, like obviously a toddler, starts to put their shoes on, right? When you remember your 2-year-olds were so cute. They're trying to put their shoes on. They put them on the wrong feet, but you don't correct them, right? Because they did something. Well, Gregory had a really hard time with his fine motor skills. His gross motor skills were great, but his fine motor skills, like putting on his shoes. Well, the fine motors are buttoning and snapping in your hands, right? You're fine. Okay. And your gross motor, he was crawling at 4 months, walking at 9 months, running at 10 months. All those were like boom, 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 which were really early, which we were like, wow, it's amazing. Look at him. He's hitting a golf ball and he's, 8 months old. So that was all fun and games. And then we'd realize that the crawling that he pretty much didn't do a lot of, right? Because he crawled at 4 months and then boom, he was pulling up and walking, is a huge sensory thing, which we talked about last episode. Touching the carpet, touching the ground, touching the grass, right? Well, I really don't think he did that very much. And so those are all sensory inputs that you and I talked about.
I see. He was moving past the things he didn't feel comfortable with.
Right.
Interesting.
And did we make a mistake by putting shoes and socks on him all the time because he really doesn't like to be barefooted? You never know, right? You kind of think back about what are these sensory things that we should have or shouldn't have done. But I think learning how to dress is a huge deal. And I really believe, had I known earlier, that I might have focused on it a little bit better than I did. I think it's easier to dress your kid and go, right? But if you have a typical developing child like Michael, at 2 years old, he was telling me what shirt he was going to wear, what pair of pants he was going to wear. Gregory never did that. So I just dressed him.
Oh, interesting.
Right. Instead of letting him do it.
Right.
You remember, let me do it. Let me do it. We didn't go through that with him. So I might have focused a little bit more.
You always quote Allison, who would say, I do it myself.
I
do it myself.
This is the greatest. And I just love that. I'm not wearing this shirt. Excuse me? You're 2 years old.
Right.
Well, with Gregory, we didn't go through that. And I really feel like, had I known earlier, I might have focused more on that. So all of those things were delayed. The buttoning of the pants, the zipping. So we obviously did Velcro. We did Velcro shoes, tying his shoes. That's a really, really, really big challenge for him, which it is for a lot of kids. Right. But with him, it was very late coming. But I just think the earlier you get the diagnosis, if you could work on those type of skills, it just makes it easier for everybody.
Well, right? When you say work on the skills, is it kind of let them or ask them to dress themselves, ask them to put the shoes on?
Instead of, if they don't want to do it, or he didn't even try, right? He didn't even try. So maybe help them, make them try, because he just didn't have that. I don't know what you would call it, an instinct to do it, or he just really wasn't interested in doing it.
Well, you see, it says fine motor skills, which is wild now because today his profession requires super precise fine motor skills. But
Very
it was a delayed. It wasn't like they never developed. It was just that they took their time.
correct. And he never scribbled, he wrote.
Interesting.
Yeah, right. So he didn't. I think as a parent, he didn't want to mess up.
Is that like so it's like perfectionism part of this?
Don't know, because when I'm around kids now, it's just amazing. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at him. He's just over there just scribbling, right? Just scribbling. Gregory
Right.
never scribbled, and he never colored outside of the lines. When he started coloring, it was perfect. You remember that?
Yeah,
And
yeah, I
he
remember that,
colored
yeah.
the whole page, not
Yeah.
just the figure on the page, but all the way out to the edge. He
Yeah.
colored it blue. You know, if it was a sky, it was completely covered, which was beautiful when he finished.
Right.
But most children won't take the time to do that. They just color it and move on.
Right.
So those were interesting developmental as far as
Well, it
fine
does sound a
motor.
little bit like perfectionism, where we're gonna complete it, we're gonna finish it, we're gonna stay involved in this thing until
Right.
it's done,
And it's
and
not
viewers
messed
of the
up.
whole thing. Yeah. And
Right.
so that's kind of fascinating. Have anyone ever talked to you about like these other things that we talk about, hear about being diagnosed, like perfectionism or ADHD being somehow related to autism?
We've never really went down that road. We never did.
Interesting.
Um,
Yeah. It's
I
so
think,
confusing, right? There's so many different labels and names. It's hard to.
right. And
I'm
now
sure there's
adults are being diagnosed with ADHD. Oh, that's my problem. That's why I can't succeed. And that's what,
right.
there's just
Well,
all these different things that I can't do because and they may very well be because, maybe when they were young, it wasn't around, but
it wasn't
no,
diagnosed yet.
we never went down that road. I know a lot of parents that I met, their children, when they would say their diagnosis, they'd say autism and ADHD. They would definitely throw that in.
They would say it was both. And so the drugs that you mentioned early on first episode, that there were prescription drugs that were mentioned right away. What were those? Do you remember what those were? Are they the same things that they give kids that have the ADHD diagnosis?
It was Adderall, and then they wanted him on an anti-anxiety and an antidepressant. I remember Zoloft was one of them. I don't remember the exact name of the anti. There was 3.
And you opted out of all the.
I never put him on anything. Never
Really?
put him on anything.
Wow.
I don't know. I mean, like I said, I don't know if it was because it was just such an unknown thing at the time. I don't know if I would be different now.
Yeah.
But a 3-year-old with 3 prescriptions,
it seems like a lot.
We just didn't think it was the right avenue. And they truly looked at me straight in my face and said they did not know what to do with an autistic child. Let's try this. He seems anxious. He seems depressed.
And this was 1990.
So he was born in 94. Yeah. So this is about 98, 99. They're starting to give him prescriptions. Right.
Wow.
So we never went down that road. And like I said, I don't want to say one way or the other. I know it's different for everybody.
Right. That's the mom and dad's role. They'll figure it out. Right.
That's their decision, right? I'm just here to say what we did with Gregory.
That's fantastic. Yeah, exactly. So as he started to age and other kids had shoes that tied and other kids had pants that buttoned and zipped and he didn't, what was that like?
So it was really hard. Kids can be a little mean sometimes, but
A lot mean. Did he notice though? Did he care that his pants were different than anyone else's?
He didn't know. I think it hurt my feelings more than it did.
Really?
He didn't know. He didn't
realize
realize
he didn't know he was being teased, or he didn't know his clothes were different.
He's never ever figured out bullying and teasing ever.
Oh,
to
really?
this day. Today.
He's immune to bullying.
He's immune.
Wow.
Matter of fact, in middle school, he turned bullies around because he didn't react the way they wanted him to react.
Right. Just like, what are you doing?
Yeah. Aww. I mean, it just didn't work. So they were like, well, what am I doing this for? And that's the age, right? Middle school, where you're trying to figure out who you are and all that.
Wow. Yeah. As we build later in your series, when we talk about adult life, that must be a problem though, because there are people that will take advantage of you, and you have to be. Because I guess what I'm trying to figure out is it because he always thought the best of people and just trusted people and didn't imagine someone would be out to hurt his feelings?
I think in Gregory's world, as my dad would say, if Gregory's in charge of the world, it'd be a much better place to live. Everybody is honest. Everybody is sincere. Everyone keeps their word, keeps their promise. Like, yeah.
So he just doesn't. So if someone's mean or ornery, it just
Why
doesn't.
would somebody be mean? Why would
Right.
somebody be mean? Why would they do that? That's
People
not
aren't.
right. So why would they do that?
That's interesting.
Answer that question.
But it's kind of it's kind of fascinating. There must be a lot of work on this because that's also kind of like this whole everything is good and perfect, right?
Right.
The world is perfect. That's
world is
fascinating. So like Velcro shoes, like pull on pants, but still like he dressed himself. So that gave him tools that he could use to dress himself.
Correct.
So he
Correct.
basically made it a little bit easier
Right.
so that he could do it.
Correct. And now it's
That-
all very popular. Slip-on shoes. Everybody wears sweatpants.
Right. Yeah, exactly. The
He was
Skechers.
ahead of his time, we'll say.
Exactly. Yeah, that's fascinating. Well, maybe that makes it for the autistic for a kid with autism. Maybe that makes it they're a little less different.
Well, get
Fit in a little bit
Skechers.
better.
Skechers
Yeah.
runs a whole line of $150 pair of shoes that you don't have to bend down to put on
Yeah,
and slip them on.
that's fascinating.
So,
That's
right.
good.
So much easier to be accepted and not stand out,
Right.
a lot.
So let's talk about those periodic things you have to do. Like you have to get your teeth cleaned, you have to get your hair cut, you have to get inoculations, right? So maybe pick those one apart. What'd you learn? How'd you get through them? Which were like what were harder? Which was less hard?
Obviously, shots were earth-shattering for him because you can only imagine if you have all that sensory going on how much a needle hurt. And let me tell you, he's 31, and just in the last 6 months, he has conquered blood test.
Oh, really? Giving blood.
Talk about anxious. Yes, yes.
And so it all comes
And
when you say sensory, maybe we should pull that up a little bit. When you say these sensory things, like what does that mean for someone that's just gotten a diagnosis and they're wandering around and they bump into us? So you say sensory, like maybe fill that out a little bit. What do you mean?
so oversensitized to the whole environment, right? Their skin is extra sensitive. Everything to them is at a level much higher because they're not processing the environment, right?
Interesting.
Like we do. So they're super sensitive. A needle, I can't even imagine what a needle would feel like to him. Getting a haircut, I know a lot of people struggle with haircuts, but then you'll also see some that really struggle with haircuts. Haircuts were a nightmare. That's all I can say.
Did he
Complete
imagine that having the
utter
haircut was going to hurt?
No, it's the hair falling on him feeling like needles. You know how itchy hair is?
Yeah.
Just couldn't take it. Every
Really?
haircut, we took an extra t-shirt. He cut his
To
hair.
change.
It didn't matter what you do. You took it off, you shook it out, you took it outside, you shook it out. He would not put it back on. He
You
couldn't put
could
it back
feel
on.
the hair in the
He
shirt.
could feel the hair. So we got his haircut and we put it, the little cape on as tight as you possibly could, kept the hair off him. And I mean, it's impossible, but as much as we could. And then we would immediately go in the restroom and get all the hair off of his shoulders and put a new shirt on him. Every haircut.
Even though
This
he's had
happened.
the apron thing, what do we call it?
Doesn't matter. It was still there. It was still touching him somewhere. It was touching him, and it just was not happening. And screaming and crying. And we gave him his first haircut before he was diagnosed.
Yeah.
So we're taking pictures. We just think this is look at him, and
Yeah.
it was just torture. It was complete torture for him.
Oh,
Huge sensory thing with kids. Just now you'll pay attention if you'll see on Instagram, some little boy getting his haircut and he's freaking out. It's a huge sensory thing. It really is.
wow.
And the buzzer touching their neck,
So
all of that.
So it's anywhere you touch them,
Anywhere
anywhere.
you
They're
touch.
just what you would describe it as like you're just like for us, if someone touches you and it's a level 1, for them it's a level 10 of like a
At
pain.
least. Mhm.
So just the pain is amplified, every feeling is amplified.
Right. So
And then it's the same thing for hearing. So for sounds, light.
Light.
What about vibration? What about like riding in a car and the car is vibrating, that kind of thing, or like a like a ride in
Not,
an amusement park or something that's wobbly.
yeah, not so much there. He's always loved amusement parks and like Chuck E. Cheese, which I couldn't even stand to be in Chuck E. Cheese, but he
Wow.
could.
See, to
And
me, that's
that's
sensory overload.
well, again, though, game rooms. Here we go back to the glad he doesn't have an iPad at 2 years old. Anything to do with games and videos, it just lit him up. He just loved it.
Wow.
Did not send him over the edge, did not have meltdowns, but he was
That's
able to handle
fascinating.
those environments. I think it was what was in that environment.
What about taste? Is he super sensitive to like spicy foods?
No, never had a texture problem that I can remember as far as food. Always been a really good eater and not
So
had
a pretty broad spectrum of things to eat, pretty broad palate.
pretty broad, and which is not normal. A lot of them, a lot of autistic kids have a real texture problem. A lot of kids are picky eaters. They don't
Yeah.
like certain
Yeah.
textures and tastes and stuff. And I never really went through that with Gregory. He was a really good eater from day one. I mean, he would, not do everything, but
So when you spent time assisting in the public school system and were helping out with other autistic kids, right? How long did you do that?
I did that for, oh my goodness, from the time he was in kindergarten. Basically, how it happened was he had a para, and paras could show up or not show up. Nobody really cared.
Right.
And if his para was absent, I said, I don't want him to miss school, and I don't want him to be put aside for that day into a room. Call me and I'll come work with him. And so I did that several times in the school. I mean, they're like, you know what? You just need to be here. So
Did you
that
have to
was
get
when
certified or something? Did you go through some
no,
training?
I was just a paraprofessional. I just basically just worked with special needs kids underneath the special ed teachers.
So you would
So
say from kindergarten to high school?
Yes, I was kindergarten. I went to middle school. I didn't work in the high school. Those kids were
Okay.
big, but I did do it when he was in high school. So the
So
whole
this
time he
was
was, whole
this
time he
was
was in
six
the
or
school
seven,
system, pretty much.
so like 7 years, 8 years.
Yeah, at least.
So what's interesting for your podcast is that your experience isn't just Gregory. Your experience is hands-on working with kids in this paraprofessional role. So you can talk a little bit about like other kids and what at least in your experience, what was the common traits, common experiences, common needs to to help them across how many kids? 20 kids, 30 kids, 50 kids?
Oh, at least 50
Yeah.
kids. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that makes it makes your experience even the more valuable, and I'm glad you're sharing it with people.
That may be
So
why I say they instead of him.
well, I mean, no, that's true, but I think it's important for people to know that, like, obviously you're realistic that your experience is your experience, right? But
Right.
it does involve more than one kid, and through those crucial developmental years of first
Correct.
grade to eighth grade, so it's a bunch of them. So it is pretty valuable experience.
And you do
Um,
see the spectrum big time, all the way from 0 to 10. And then you realize you learn what Asperger's is. I didn't know what that was. You learn all the different ranges, right? And it makes
Right.
it real interesting in the real world when you meet people. It really
Yeah.
does. It really broadens that. I
Yeah.
think you understand people so much better. I hope people that listen to this get something out of it. I don't want them to go around diagnosing people, but
Well,
you understand more, I think. Don't you?
that might look my completely layman's unprofessional view of it is that the labels sometimes are not helpful because with a label creates expectations. And you're right. I mean, they call it the autism spectrum, just the spectrum for a reason, right? Because
Right.
and I don't know where it begins or ends, and I don't know where I'm on it. I don't know where my neighbor's on it, but like none of us are immune from having nervous systems that are tired, they're trying at times, right? That like I
Right.
don't do well in loud crowd, in loud places, crowded places. I have a bunch of the same symptoms that I think you would find with Gregory. But I think
Right.
I'm lucky is that I have coping mechanisms. I don't have it so severe enough that I can't figure out how to get myself out of the situations mostly on my own. And
Correct.
maybe that's the difference between sort of a diagnosis and just people that prefer different social settings and different, react to
Exactly.
noises and lights and feeling differently than others.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of fascinating. So we
It's
talked
very
about, so haircuts is interesting, right? So that to be aware that when that piece of hair falls on them, it might feel like you said, a needle falling on them instead of just a piece of hair falling on them, which is frightening that you would be doing that and not know you're doing it, right? I mean, that's just
Right,
as a
right.
parent, it's like, oh my God, what am I
Right.
doing?
And I think one of the things that we learned later on was maybe take that buzzer and just lay it on them. You know, let them vibrate on them somewhere else and show them it's not going to hurt them, get them used to the razor. And then the haircut the same way. Just, you know, show them maybe somebody else getting a haircut right beside them. See how they
Interesting.
handle it. Instead of just throwing that kid in the chair and expecting him to just
To know what's going to happen.
right, right. And that
Yeah,
I'm telling you,
that's
that was one of the hardest things I think that we went through. It really was.
conquering the haircut.
Yeah, a haircut.
Wow. What about
Even
other daily? So we talked about this infrequent thing. So what about the dentist? Or what about just brush teeth in general? Brushing your teeth daily, going to the dentist, flossing. How
he
was all
does
that?
really well. I only take him to a dentist that's trained for special needs. I have
Oh,
I
that
have
exists?
now lately, like in the last 6 months, there wasn't anybody there, but there was a very gentle hygienist. And basically, they're not going to get in there and go to town like they do on you and I. They're going
Right.
to clean. They're going to get his teeth clean.
But
He's
hold
got
on, you said
amazing
something I
teeth.
didn't even know existed. There's a special training for dental professionals to deal
Yes.
with kids, the kids like Gregory, people like Gregory.
Sensory.
How in the world do you find that out?
Sensory.
Where do you go
Sensory.
find some?
Where do you find it? I just call every practice that I can possibly. I just call the practices around here, and there will be one. There will
But
be
there's a
one.
code word of like, what's the code word? Is it just I have an
Special
autistic
needs.
child?
Special needs. Mhm. If they
Interesting.
they can handle all different types of special needs, Down syndrome, autism, they can do it all. It's just a completely different practice, right? You're not going to go in there and bang away and walk out in 15 minutes. That
Right.
appointment needs to be a little bit longer. You need to be a
Right.
little kinder. You need to be a little more gentle. And that appointment might be a 2-visit appointment.
Oh,
You may
interesting.
get half of the mouth done and he's done. Got to go. And then come back
Yeah.
and do the other half later. All of these things that you and I just, oh my gosh, I got to run to the dentist, get my teeth cleaned, and you're back at work. That doesn't happen. When we have a dentist appointment, that's our day.
Oh, that's the whole thing.
We don't come back and work. We pretty much focus on it and we get ready for it. And it's very successful now. He's
Several
very
days
proud
in
of
advance.
himself.
Are you talking about it?
Oh yes, yes.
What about when he was younger? What about when he was 6 or 8?
We went to we went to special dentist for little kids, but we also went to special needs pediatric dentist. And I started in the beginning when he didn't get his teeth cleaned, right? Just taking him and visiting and letting him, lay in the chair, open his
So
mouth.
kind of like you said with the haircut, like let's go see what goes on here before
That's
we're
what it's
going to
all
be
about. Yeah.
accustomed.
Don't just throw him in it. You gotta. With
And
Gregory,
the practice was okay with that. They were like, yeah, bring him down, show him around.
oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
that's so cool.
Yeah, just come on in.
I-
They show them the tools, lay in the chair, look in the mirror, the whole thing, and then they leave, right? Nothing happened. Then next time, now this time they're going to look in your mouth and they're going to feel around, and you just kind of very baby steps, very, very baby steps. But he's very successful at the dentist now, very successful. Even went through braces. Braces was hysterical. His brother got braces. Boom, took him in there and got him, right? Gregory needed braces first and was older, but he wasn't having any part of the braces. He knew what they were. We were telling him what they were. He was 15, 14, 15. He wanted to make sure his brother survived them. So we let him go. Michael, watch him put them on, do the bands and everything. And, it's painful. There's some pain involved in it, I guess. I've never had them. And as soon as he knew Michael was going to live through it, I'll get braces. I said, are you sure?
Wow.
So he did. But watching Michael do it, and he's got beautiful teeth.
Just being super cautious and super risk averse.
Right.
That's amazing. So what about daily brushing of the teeth? Was that a huge struggle, or were there any tricks or hacks to that?
Big struggle, and it really worried me. But like I said, he has amazing teeth, so he doesn't like the splashing mess. I mean, you have to admit, brushing your teeth is a mess.
Yeah, right.
It is.
Yeah, if you
He
do it
didn't
right.
like that at all. So he has a electric toothbrush that he has in the shower. And that way the mess is gone. Right?
Oh, the shower itself can wash it away.
Right. So he brushes his
So the
teeth.
pain, so going back to sensory, that like brushing your teeth can hurt, right? If you have tender gums or
Right.
whatever. And
So
so
yeah, we
he didn't have an issue with the toothbrush being in his mouth as much as he had a problem with like the whole process being messy and disorderly.
correct. Because see, he could control the pressure, right? So I got him an
Yeah.
electric toothbrush, and that controlled the cleaning, and then he controlled the pressure. So it's kind of
Interesting.
twofold there.
But would you
Flossing,
oh, I was gonna ask,
flossing,
how does flossing work?
complete nightmare until about 7 months ago. 31 years
Oh my
old.
goodness.
That's what I
Oh,
said. I'm so glad he's got good teeth, and he goes every 6 months to get them cleaned. And they would always go, "Well, Gregory, you need to floss." I know. Don't
there's an
remind
old
me.
Jeff Foxworthy
'Cause
joke
it
where the
hurt.
dentist
It
says,
hurts him.
there's this old Jeff
So
Foxworthy joke where the dentist says, Jeff, when's the last time you flossed? And Jeff says, well, sir, I think you did
you know
it.
this, Gregory. I think you, and I don't think they're able to do it on him because you know how they pop it in your mouth and pull it out.
Oh, it hurts. Yeah. And they're hitting your
It
gums
hurts.
or whatever.
So no, nobody flosses teeth. But like 6, 8 months ago, he's watching Shark Tank, and he must have wrote this down somewhere because I wasn't with him watching it. And it was prior to him moving to his house. And he said, "I've got a great idea." And I said, "What's your idea?" And he said, "I'm going to buy this." And he shows me this, and he would die. I think it's called, oh gosh, I can't remember the name of it now. He would be so angry. It's an electric flosser, and it was on Shark Tank.
An electric flosser. Does it use water or something? A water
No,
pick?
it's just like a toothbrush, and you put the little head on it, like the little plackers that you can buy.
Mhm.
And you turn it on and it pops it up. It's crazy. It moves it,
But
and
he saw it on TV and was
life
blown
has
right out.
changed. He flosses his teeth by himself now.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I
So
need to
it's
write
interesting.
that
It's
company.
interesting. I guess you know this, but I'll point it out is that there's milestones being had. We talked about a couple of milestones in the last year at 31 years old.
I know.
I mean, for parents out there, it must be super intimidating to hear that, right? Like,
It is, I know. And I literally, we just had a show this past weekend in San Antonio, and I had more tears. You know, you just have those people that are going through it, right?
what causes tears? Well, they're
They walk
they're
up
under
and
the
they're just,
stress of their situation.
yes, they meet him and they just have a meltdown. I call it a meltdown. They literally have a meltdown at our tent or our van, and she just
I don't
started
understand
crying. Of
why.
course, she was buying everything she could possibly buy, and I'm like, "Wait a minute!" And she's like, "This is amazing!" And she's just
But why,
bawling.
I don't understand why. Spell it out. Why are they crying?
Her nephew is not talking, and he's 7. I believe he's 7 years old. They can't get him to do anything. All he wants to do is watch TV and play on his iPad.
Right.
And she's like, how did you do this?" And so we sat down and we must have talked for an hour. And
Really?
there's no answer. There's absolutely no answer. All I could do is tell her what I did. I
Yeah.
just told her what I did. I'm like, "You just got to get him out. You got to, get him interested in something else and see what But how did you know?" And I'm like, "I didn't know this. This happened.
Right.
This just happened. This wasn't
But,
training."
but I guess to your credit, you weren't afraid to try this and try that and try this. And I would say two things. You weren't afraid to experiment, and you were super, super empathetic. Because can't you get super frustrated with a person that's autistic and they want to have an extra visit to the dentist and extra this? It's like, yeah, but they want to have a massage. Yeah, me too. I mean, isn't there part of it? Is that you just have to like find the patience of Job somewhere?
You do. You're just their number one. And I think too, and that'll be a whole nother episode, is how Michael dealt with all this too, being a sibling. Because whatever Gregory needed, that's what we did
Yeah,
to this day.
yeah.
You
Well,
know,
everyone's making special,
accommodations for
provisions,
him.
accommodations, right? Special
Yeah.
accommodations.
And he's no trouble. I don't want people to think that he's no burden at all whatsoever. And at this point, I could send him to you for a week. I would not
Yeah,
even worry about him because he's so self-sufficient.
yeah.
And
He's
now
completely self.
you've been with him, so you know.
Yeah,
And now you're
yeah.
learning about him
But he
every
was 30
week.
before I took him on a fishing trip without you.
Right.
He was 30 before I got to before I it all worked out that I could take him somewhere without you. I mean, that's no
Right.
Michael was there, right?
Right. So now you're comfortable with it and you'd have no problem picking him up and taking him
Look,
to say,
he's
see him.
fantastic to be around because, like you said, in his world, everything's great, right?
Every
He's
day's a
funny.
good day.
He loves to give you a hard time. He cracks jokes, which I think is interesting because a joke is actually a pretty intelligent thing to be able to do, right? Like a joke is
Right.
hard, but he gets it. He can tell jokes. And he knows what's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's completely self-sufficient, which is why it's so important that we may not be the world's best podcasters, but that's why this story is so important. Is
I
because
do, and that's why I
you do
just,
have a remarkable outcome.
you'll just hear me say over and over and over, life skills, life skills, life skills, because I'm not going to live forever. I lost my husband. He was 48. You
Yeah.
never know what tomorrow brings. And if he ended up coming to live with you, right, it would
Yeah.
be easy. It wouldn't be
Yeah.
a burden. It would not be a burden.
Wow.
Obviously, your life would change a little bit, but
Yeah.
it would not be a burden where you were literally taking care
Bathing
of
and
him.
changing diapers of an adult and stuff like that.
Right. Absolutely.
And
He'd be able
dealing
to
with
do what
violence. I have friends who really horrible stories of their adult autistic children becoming violent, especially the boy.
right.
So like your outcome here is amazing.
We are
But,
just
and
so
we'll keep trying. Like I said, we're none of us. This is our first podcast, and people probably like no kidding. but I think we'll keep pulling out these hacks and these stories, and in the hopes that it helps somebody.
anybody, right? Even one.
It helps one. It's well worth it. All right.
That's right.
Well,
Absolutely.
that was episode 4. You did a great
All
job.
right. Until next time.
See you next time.
Okay.
Bye.